Tonight, you can let yourself arrive slowly, as if you were walking down a soft, dark path toward a quiet clearing, knowing there is nothing here you need to fight, nothing you need to flee, and nowhere else you need to be. As you settle your body, maybe under a blanket or against a gentle pillow, you can imagine that you are stepping out of the bright, busy world of the day and into a more ancient landscape, one that has been here far longer than any of our worries. This is a place where every rustle has a meaning, where every heartbeat belongs to a living creature trying its best to survive and to rest. It is the world of predators and prey, of hunters and the hunted, of watchful eyes and patient stillness. And tonight, that world is not here to scare you, but to help your own nervous system feel seen, understood, and, eventually, soothed. You might already know that deep inside you, beneath all the thoughts and stories, there is a very old part of your mind that still believes it is out in that wild landscape. To that inner part, every unexpected noise could be a sign of danger. Every message, every deadline, every unresolved tension with someone in your life can feel a little like the sound of something moving in the grass just beyond your line of sight. You have felt this, most likely, on nights when you wanted nothing more than to switch off, and yet your thoughts kept circling back to something that felt unfinished or unsafe. That restless scanning, that quiet insistence that you stay awake and keep watch, this is the psychology of survival, still living in you, shaped by millions of years of predators and prey. For a little while, we are going to walk gently through that world together. We will look at how predators move and think, how prey live with constant awareness, and how both find ways to rest, even in environments that are never completely safe. We will explore how fear and vigilance, those sharp survival tools, have helped life persist in the wild. And then we will turn all of that back toward your own experience, why your body sometimes feels wired, why sleep can be elusive, and how understanding this ancient system inside you can make it easier to soften into the night. As you listen, you do not have to hold on to every fact or example. You do not have to remember names or terms. You can let the ideas drift through you like the sound of leaves moving overhead, like distant calls in the dark. Some parts may catch your curiosity for a moment. Others may simply wash past the edges of your awareness, loosening the grip of your own inner sentry. You are safe, here and now. The predators we will talk about live only in imagination and memory. The prey we will meet are part of a story that has already happened, a long arc of life that led to you lying right here, breathing, listening, and gradually sinking into rest. If you like, you can take a slow breath in, not forcing anything, just letting the air arrive. And then let it fall out of you again, as if the body knew exactly what to do without being told. Notice, for a moment, how your body doesn't need instructions to keep your heart beating, to keep your lungs moving, to keep you alive. All of that is a kind of quiet, automatic intelligence, and it is the same kind of intelligence that once helped your ancestors spot danger in the shadows and find safety in caves, trees, or small fireside circles. You do not need to tame this intelligence. You only need to understand it enough that it doesn't have to shout so loudly at night. In the living world, predator and prey relationships are everywhere. In forests, there are wolves and deer, foxes and rabbits, owls and small rodents. In the oceans, there are sharks and fish, orcas and seals, vast schools of tiny creatures pursued by larger ones. In the sky, hawks and eagles read the movement of the ground, eyes tuned to the slightest tremble of grass. These interactions are not simply brutal clashes, they are part of how ecosystems stay in balance. Predators thin out prey populations, preventing overgrazing and allowing plant life to regenerate. Prey, in turn, shape where and how predators can survive, by their numbers, by their behavior, and by the places they choose to occupy. Together, they create a moving pattern of life, full of tension and release, fear and relief. Scientists sometimes talk about something called a landscape of fear. It is not a map drawn on paper, but a map that exists in the mind of a prey animal. Imagine a deer standing in a meadow at dusk. The open grass might be rich with food, but it is also open to the gaze of a stalking predator. The forest edge offers more cover, but maybe fewer tender shoots. The deer's mind and body keep track, moment by moment, of where it feels risky and where it feels safe. It may choose to feed for a few minutes in a slightly dangerous place, then move quickly back to cover. Over time, that pattern, those invisible lines between safer and less safe spaces, shapes not only the deer's behavior but also the plants that grow there and the predators that follow. The whole landscape is rearranged, not just by teeth and claws, but by the emotion of fear that travels through prey bodies and changes their choices. Something similar happens in your inner world. You have your own landscape of fear, streets you avoid at night, situations that make your heart race, memories that feel dangerous to revisit. You also have inner refuges, people, routines, spaces, and practices that make you feel more grounded and safe. When your body senses threat, it moves you, in obvious or subtle ways, toward what feels safer, just like that deer patrolling the boundary between meadow and forest. This is not weakness. It is the deep survival logic of a creature who has inherited a long history of predator and prey interactions, translated now into the language of modern life. If you think back to a time when you felt suddenly on edge, a sound in the house at night, a car backfiring, a message with an ambiguous tone, you might recall how your attention narrowed, how your muscles tightened without your permission. That rapid shift into alertness is part of what keeps creatures alive. But when it happens too often, or doesn't switch off when the danger has passed, it becomes exhausting. That is the heart of your struggle with hypervigilance and sleep, a survival system that has forgotten how to recognize when it is safe enough to rest. To understand how to soften that system, we can start by looking more closely at the body itself as a survival machine. Long before words and thoughts, there were signals and responses. Something moved. A sound cracked through the stillness. A scent changed. And bodies reacted, to fight, to flee, or to become very still and hope to go unnoticed. These are not philosophical ideas, they are physical patterns etched into nerves, hormones, and muscles. They are the fight, flight, and freeze responses. When something feels dangerous, your body has a built-in way of getting you ready. A part of your nervous system, often called the sympathetic branch, steps forward. It acts like a gentle but insistent accelerator pedal. Heart rate rises, preparing to pump more blood to the muscles. Breathing becomes quicker or deeper, bringing in more oxygen. Blood is redirected away from digestion and toward your limbs. You might feel warmth in your face or hands from increased blood flow, or a buzzing in your muscles, as if they are restless and poised to move. In a fight response, this activation is directed outward. Muscles tighten, jaw clenches, shoulders brace. The mind may become focused on confronting a perceived threat, real or imagined. Even if you are not literally in a physical fight, you might notice the same pattern in an argument, in a tense meeting, or in the moment before writing an email you feel anxious about. The body gears up to push back. In a flight response, the same system asks your body to pull you away from danger. Legs feel restless. Hands might tremble. Attention is scanning for exits, escape plans, safer ground. You might walk quickly down a street, change your route, avoid eye contact, or mentally run away by distracting yourself. Even if the predator in this case is a situation rather than an animal, your body doesn't fully distinguish. It only asks, do we stay, or do we go? Then there is freeze. When fighting is too risky and fleeing is impossible, the body has another ancient strategy: go very still and hope to escape notice, or at least dampen the intensity of the experience. In freeze, your heart might still be racing, but your muscles hold tight. You feel stuck, mind foggy or blank, as if your thoughts cannot quite arrange themselves. Many prey animals use this. A rabbit may crouch low in the grass, motionless, even with a predator nearby, hoping that its stillness blends into the background. In your life, freeze might appear as zoning out, feeling numb, or unable to act when under social or emotional threat. These responses are not chosen in the neat, rational way we sometimes imagine. They arise quickly, out of older parts of the brain and body. The same logic plays out in wild creatures. For a small animal, a shadow overhead, the smell of a carnivore on the wind, a particular pattern of rustling in the underbrush, these are signals that can trigger an almost instant shift into fight, flight, or freeze. If the animal responds quickly and appropriately, it survives. Those that did this well, over many generations, passed on their genes. You, right now, are a distant result of countless such successful responses. Of course, in a forest or a savanna, threats are not constant. Even in predator-rich landscapes, there are long stretches of relative safety. Animals graze, groom each other, rest, or play. Their bodies do not live at maximum alert all the time. There is another branch of the nervous system, often called the parasympathetic branch, that invites rest and repair. If the sympathetic system is the accelerator, this one is the soft brake, the quiet hand on your shoulder that says, it's okay to slow down now. Your heart rate eases. Your breathing becomes steady and comfortable. Digestion resumes its gentle work. Immune processes and tissue repair kick in more fully during these calmer times. It is in this state that true recovery happens, for animals in the wild and for you. For prey animals, the ability to quickly move between these states is crucial. Imagine a herd of antelope in an open plain. They graze with heads down, ears constantly rotating, eyes lifting every so often to scan the horizon. For long stretches, their bodies can stay relatively calm, focused on feeding and social interaction. But at the slightest sign, a distant shape nearing, a sudden change in the movement of birds overhead, they can snap into alertness almost instantly. If the danger passes, they gradually come down from that peak, returning to more normal rhythms. The spike in stress is brief and functional, rather than stretching endlessly through every hour of their lives. In modern human environments, something different often happens. Instead of occasional, intense threats with long periods of true safety in between, many people live with a constant drip of smaller stressors, notifications, social pressures, background worries about money or health or relationships. The body's ancient survival machinery cannot always tell that these are not immediate, life and death threats. The sympathetic system stays quietly overactive. The parasympathetic brake never quite fully engages. You get a body that is always a little bit ready to run, fight, or freeze, even when you are just lying in bed in a locked house. You have likely felt this as the mind that won't stop thinking through possibilities, that checks the door one more time, that replays a conversation again and again. You might find yourself scanning not a physical meadow but a mental one, scrolling through social media, news, emails, trying to spot whatever could go wrong. It is the same logic as a prey animal checking the wind and listening for footfalls, just translated into the digital and social world. And, just like constant vigilance drains the energy of a wild creature, constant mental vigilance drains yours. There is something important to notice here. In the wild, fear and stress are not just destructive. They are informative. They tell an animal when to be careful, when to move, where to avoid. Studies in ecology have shown that predators can change prey behavior even without killing them, simply by their presence. Prey might feed in safer locations, or at safer times of day, even if that means getting slightly less food overall. This fear-driven behavior can ripple through an entire ecosystem, affecting which plants grow where, how nutrients flow, and which other species are able to thrive. Fear becomes a kind of invisible architect of the environment. In your life, fear and anxiety can be informative in a similar way. They might tell you that a certain relationship is unsafe, that a workplace is harmful, that a particular habit or situation keeps you too close to metaphorical predators. Your survival brain is trying to manage risks, even if it sometimes misreads the situation. It is not trying to ruin your sleep. It is trying, in its own old-fashioned way, to keep you alive. When we ignore or fight this system without understanding it, it tends to push back harder. But when we bring gentle attention to it, notice the sensations, and learn its patterns, it can begin to feel heard and may not need to shout so much. Just as a prey animal, once it has checked its surroundings and found them safe, can return to feeding or resting. Your body can, over time, learn to trust that certain times and spaces are genuinely safe enough for rest. Right now, as you lie here listening, you can experiment with that. Notice, without changing anything, where in your body you feel that leftover readiness. It might be in the chest, as a tightness or flutter. It might be in the jaw, clenching or pressing teeth together. It might be in the shoulders, held up just a little higher than they need to be. These are the subtle remains of your fight and flight responses. You do not have to force them to release all at once. Simply noticing them is like an animal lifting its head from the grass to scan the horizon, taking stock of what is really there. Then, quietly, you can send a signal back. Perhaps you let your shoulders fall a tiny bit closer to the bed or the chair. Perhaps you loosen your jaw, just enough that your teeth are not pressing. Perhaps you let the belly soften on the out-breath, no need to hold it in. With each of these small changes, you are telling your nervous system, in this moment, right here, there is no immediate predator. We can experiment with rest. In predator and prey systems, predators themselves are not always on high alert. A hunting animal spends much of its time not chasing, not attacking, but waiting, resting, conserving energy. Lions, for example, may sleep or rest for many hours a day, moving only when conditions are right. Wolves may travel long distances but also spend quiet time in dens or resting places. Being a predator does not mean living in constant, frantic aggression. It means knowing when to act and when to be still, when a chase is worth the energy and when it is better to conserve strength. Inside you, there are predator-like modes as well, times when you are focused on goals, projects, responsibilities. You plan, you pursue, you push forward. Your body can feel sharp, organized, and driven. If that part of you never rests, though, you burn out. In the wild, a predator that never stopped moving, never lay down, would quickly collapse. In the same way, a human who never allows their inner hunter to rest will eventually feel hollowed out. Prey animals, too, have rest built into their survival. They do not remain frozen in terror all day. They would starve. They would collapse. Instead, they have learned, over countless generations, to pulse between vigilance and normal activity. They graze, groom, tend to their young, sleep in shifts, and rely on the collective awareness of the group. Some birds have even evolved to sleep with only one half of their brain at a time, keeping a watchful eye on the world while still getting some rest. This is an extreme adaptation to predation risk, but it reflects a principle that your own brain follows in a softer way. Even when you sleep, parts of you remain faintly listening, monitoring. You might have experienced that as waking up to small sounds, or as light, easily disturbed sleep when you are in a new place, in a hotel, in someone else's home. Your inner prey mind has not yet fully accepted that this environment is safe. It keeps you a little closer to the surface, just in case. Once that environment becomes familiar, though, many people sleep more deeply. The brain has updated its mental map. This den is okay. All of this shows that survival is not about never feeling fear. It is about feeling fear when it is useful, then returning to calm when it is not. The difficulty you may experience is that your internal map has blurred. Signals that are not truly life-threatening are being treated as if they were. The body, doing its best with incomplete information, stays in a low-grade fight, flight, or freeze state more often than it needs to. That is not your fault. It is a mismatch between an ancient system and a modern environment rich in symbolic, social, and digital threats. As we move deeper into this journey, we are going to look more closely at how predators operate, how they decide when to act, how they save their energy, how they handle risk. We will also sink more fully into the world of prey, how they scan, how they choose escape routes, how they share watchfulness with others. In both, there are lessons for you, not in the literal sense of hunting or hiding, but in the patterns of when to be active and when to rest. But before that, it is helpful to spend a little more time with your own body as a survival machine, so you can recognize yourself in these other creatures more easily. Inside your brain, regions that evolved long ago coordinate these responses. You do not have to know their names. What matters is that they receive information from your senses, from your memories, from your expectations, and they constantly answer two questions: am I safe? And if not, what do I do? When you understand that this is what they are asking, your own reactions can feel less mysterious. A racing heart, for example, is not a random malfunction. It is your body preparing muscles to move. Sweaty palms mean your body is trying to cool you in case you need to exert yourself. A churning stomach reflects blood being pulled away from digestion to fuel quick action instead. Even your thoughts, when they race, are trying to solve what feels like a problem. Where is the predator, and how do we get away? The trouble is that in many modern situations, there is nothing to run from and nothing to fight. You cannot sprint away from an email. You cannot physically wrestle a looming bill. You cannot hide from the abstract sense that people might judge you. The energy your body summons has nowhere obvious to go, and so it turns inward. Muscles stay tight. The mind spins. Sleep becomes difficult, because the survival system has not been given convincing proof that the danger is over. There is a quiet kindness in recognizing this. Instead of seeing yourself as broken or weak for being anxious or sleepless, you can see yourself as an animal whose environment has become confusing. Your inner predator and prey circuits are trying to apply old rules to new kinds of threats. They will keep doing this until they are shown, repeatedly and gently, that some parts of your day and night are truly safe. Right now, again, you can offer a small signal. Let your eyes, if they are still open, rest closed or half closed. Notice the feeling of the surface beneath you, supporting your weight. You do not have to hold yourself up. Gravity and furniture and fabric are already taking care of that. If you listen beyond the sound of my voice, you might hear small noises, distant traffic, a clock, the hum of a device, perhaps the sound of someone else moving in another room. Each of these can be noticed and then allowed to move into the background. You can remind yourself, These are not predators. These are part of the night environment, and they do not require me to act. In this way, you are beginning to redraw your own landscape of fear. You are telling your survival brain that, in this one small clearing of time and space, there is nothing hunting you. Just as a herd might choose a particular sheltered place to sleep, trusting that the risk is low enough, you are choosing to treat this moment as a kind of digital den, a mental nest. The more often you do this, the more familiar it becomes, and the more your nervous system can learn to recognize it as a cue for downshifting into rest. When you imagine a predator now, a wolf, a big cat, a bird of prey, you might picture intensity, power, sharp movement. But before every burst of speed, there is often long stillness. A lioness may lie in the shade, eyes half closed, breathing slow, muscles relaxed but ready. A hawk perches for long periods, scanning quietly, adjusting its balance on the branch with tiny movements. Even in the lives of hunters, rest is not an afterthought. It is woven into the rhythm of survival. Inside you, the same kind of rhythm is possible. There can be times of focused pursuit, of work, of problem solving, when your inner predator mind is active. And there can be times like this, slow, quiet, where your attention is allowed to soften, where no chase is required. To help that happen more easily, it can be helpful to understand how predators make decisions, how they read their world, and how they also must manage their own risks and vulnerabilities. Some predators are ambush hunters. They rely on stillness and camouflage, waiting motionless until prey comes close enough for a quick, decisive action. Think of a big cat lying low in the grass, or a crocodile resting near the water's edge. Others are pursuit hunters, like wolves or wild dogs, relying on endurance and cooperation to chase prey over long distances. Some are opportunists, taking advantage of whatever food appears, sometimes scavenging from the kills of others. Each style has its own pattern of effort and rest, its own balance between watching and acting. Energy is precious in the wild. A predator cannot afford to waste it. Chasing prey that is too fast, too far, or too alert can be fatal if it happens too often. So predators, in a way, are constantly calculating, is this worth the effort? Do I have enough reserves? Are the conditions right? They use their senses and their experiences to decide when to invest their limited energy in a hunt and when to conserve it. You can feel something similar in your own life when you weigh whether a particular argument, task, or worry is worth the mental and emotional energy it will cost you. As we move further, we will explore these predator patterns more deeply. You will see how their focus, strategy, and patience reveal a quieter side of survival that has nothing to do with relentless aggression and everything to do with knowing when to pause. For now, it is enough to know that both predators and prey live within cycles of activation and rest. Your body, too, seeks that cycle. Tonight, by listening, by breathing, by allowing your muscles to be cradled by whatever you are lying on, you are giving that cycle a chance to complete, to move away from constant readiness and toward the softer, more healing half of the rhythm. You might notice that, even as these ideas move through your mind, Some part of you is already drifting. Maybe the images of animals in the dark, the sense of open landscapes, the quiet recognition of your own survival systems are beginning to blur at the edges. That is perfectly okay. You do not need to hold on tightly. The psychology of survival has brought you this far. The psychology of rest is just beginning to do its work, gently, in the background, like a predator finally deciding not to chase tonight, like a prey animal curling up in the safest hollow it can find, letting its breathing slow as the stars will silently above. You can let yourself stay where you are, in whatever position feels most natural, and imagine that the night around you has grown a little deeper, a little quieter. You have already met your own survival system, the way your body prepares you to protect yourself, the way it sometimes keeps you awake just in case. Now, if you like, we can drift further into the wild, not as something threatening, but as a distant, slow-moving story unfolding far beyond the walls of your room. Out there, under open sky or a canopy of leaves, predators move through their world with a kind of watchful calm. They are not always chasing. In fact, most of the time, they are waiting, listening, conserving. When people imagine predators, they often picture a frozen moment, a leap, a flash of teeth, the intensity of a chase. But that moment is only a tiny part of a predator's life. The rest is made up of long stretches of patience, scanning, and energy management. A predator that acts at every sound, that lunges at every blur of movement, soon burns through its strength. It must choose carefully, again and again. Is this worth it? Can I afford to make a move now? Is this the right place, the right time? Imagine a big cat, perhaps a lioness or a leopard, lying low in tall, dry grass. The sun is slanting down at the end of the day, heat bleeding slowly out of the ground. Her muscles are relaxed, but not floppy. They carry the quiet readiness of an elastic band not yet stretched. Her breathing is slow and regular. Around her, the air is full of information, faint scents carried on the wind, the shifts in birdsong as flocks move, the rustle of insects. She does not pounce at every twitch of a leaf. Instead, she watches the patterns. Perhaps a small herd of grazing animals is not far away, antelope, or zebras, or another hoofed group. They are spread out, heads down, ears swiveling. Some are further from cover, some closer. The predator's attention sweeps over them, not in a frantic way, but in a practiced evaluation. Which individuals look inattentive? Which are smaller, weaker, or further from the safety of the group? Which direction would they run if startled? Where are the hidden dips in the ground, the bushes, the patches of shadow that could help her get close without being seen? This is survival as strategy, not as chaos. Over years, and in fact over generations, predators refine these calculations. They learn to recognize when a situation is promising and when it is not. They learn from failed hunts, from near misses, from injuries, and from the behavior of others in their family group. In some species, like wolves, this knowledge is shared through pack hunting. In others, like solitary cats, it is held in the memory of a single animal. Either way, the essential pattern is the same: Focus, assess, wait, and act only when the likelihood of success outweighs the cost. You have something like this inside you. There is a part of your mind that can fix on a goal, a project, a problem, a conversation you need to have, and stalk it with intense concentration. You plan, you rehearse, you anticipate obstacles. Sometimes you chase tasks all day, one after another, barely pausing. Other times, you linger on the edge, feeling yourself poised to act but hesitating until the moment feels right. This is not exactly the same as hunting in a forest, of course, but the underlying wisdom is related. Effort has a cost. Your energy and attention are not infinite. Choosing where to spend them is part of your own psychology of survival. In the wild, there are different hunting styles, each with its own rhythm. Ambush hunters rely on concealment and surprise. They blend into their surroundings, moving slowly or not at all until prey is within striking distance. Their bodies are built for short bursts of intense action, a sudden jump, a swift lunge, a quick sprint. Between those bursts, they may be almost invisible, just another shape in the grass or on the riverbank. Sitting with that image, you might notice how much of a predator's life is spent not in motion but in waiting. The stillness is not empty, it is full of attention. Then there are pursuit predators, like wolves or wild dogs, who rely on endurance and cooperation. They may test a herd, trotting closer, watching how individuals move, provoking small shifts in the group's formation. They look for signs of weakness, a limp, a slower gait, a hesitation. Once they begin a chase, it is often not a frantic, explosive sprint but a measured, relentless run, wearing down the prey over distance. Members of the group may take turns leading, flanking, herding, until the prey makes a mistake or reaches a point of exhaustion. Even here, the decision to start the chase is not random. A pack must conserve energy for future hunts, for caring for young, for travel. Beginning a pursuit is a calculated gamble. The stronger the prey, the more tightly the herd sticks together, the more dangerous the terrain, the more the predators must weigh the risks. Injury can mean starvation later. A misstep on a rocky slope, a mistimed move in a dense thicket, can lead to broken bones or deep cuts. Many predators live with their own vulnerability, their own edge of survival calculations. You can probably feel echoes of this in your own life. There are days when you feel more like an ambush hunter, gathering your strength quietly until you make a decisive move on something important, sending an application, having a difficult conversation, making a change. There are other times when you feel like those long-distance pursuers, grinding away at a goal bit by bit, day after day, trusting that steady effort will eventually bring you closer. In both cases, there is a natural tension between activity and rest. If you were to work at maximum intensity without pause, like a predator that never lies down, you would quickly reach your limits. Many predators are also opportunists. They do not cling stubbornly to one plan, instead, they adapt. A fox might hunt small mammals, raid bird nests, scavenge from a carcass left by a larger animal, or nibble on fruit and insects. A bird of prey might catch live fish one day and feed on carrion the next. This flexibility is itself a form of intelligence, a survival trait developed over evolutionary time. It is a reminder that survival is not only about aggression or power, it is about reading the environment and responding to what is actually available. There is a kindness in recognizing this pattern inside yourself. You do not have to treat every challenge as a dramatic test of your worth. You can allow yourself to be opportunistic in a gentle way, choosing the easy win when it is there, letting some battles go, not committing to every internal chase your mind proposes. Just as a wise predator does not sprint after every moving thing, you do not have to spend all your mental energy on every thought that presents itself as urgent. If you think about moments when your mind gets stuck in a loop, replaying an argument, worrying about something in the future, obsessively checking messages, it can be helpful to imagine that as a kind of misdirected hunt. Your inner predator is chasing something it cannot actually catch: certainty, control over other people's reactions, guarantees about the future. In the wild, that would be like a lion chasing the wind or a wolf sprinting after shadows. Sooner or later, a real predator learns to stop, to save energy, to wait for prey that can actually be caught. In this quiet moment, you can experiment with that same kind of wisdom. Notice if there is a particular thought or problem your mind keeps circling around tonight. Instead of arguing with it, imagine it as a shape on the horizon, just out of reach. See your inner hunter tensing, ready to dash toward it. And then, just for now, imagine that hunter sighing, letting the tension soften, and lying down in the grass instead. The problem is still there, somewhere out in the distance, but in this immediate moment, you are not chasing it. You are conserving energy. You are allowing another part of your nervous system, the part that knows how to rest, to step forward. Predators live with threat, too. They are not at the top of their food webs in a way that makes them invulnerable. Young predators can be killed by larger ones, or by dangers in the environment. Adults can be injured by fighting prey, by defending territories, by confrontations with rivals. Hunger is a constant presence. A series of unsuccessful hunts can weaken an animal to the point where even small injuries become serious. So predators carry their own forms of stress, the drive to find enough food, the need to avoid unnecessary risks, the pressure to care for offspring and maintain status in their group. This shared vulnerability is important. It dissolves the simple story of predator as powerful and prey as powerless. Both live in a world full of uncertainty. Both must allocate their energy carefully. Both must find places and times where, even if danger never entirely disappears, it is low enough to allow some measure of ease. Seeing this, you might feel a slight softening toward your own inner pressures. The parts of you that push, strive, plan, and stalk opportunities also carry fear of failure, of scarcity, of not belonging, of not being enough. At some point, even for a predator, there is a need to stop scanning the horizon and close the eyes. A wolf curls in the snow beside its pack. A fox curls deep in a den. A big cat drapes itself over a branch or lies tucked beneath thorny bushes. There is trust in that, even if it is never absolute. Trust that, for this stretch of time, the risk is low enough. Trust that other members of the group will notice danger if it comes. Trust that their own ears and noses will wake them in time if something truly shifts. You have this capacity for trust, too, even if it sometimes feels buried. There have been nights in your life, perhaps, when you fell asleep easily without thinking about it. You may have had moments of deep rest after being outdoors all day, or after a full and satisfying time with people you care about, or after an experience that left you feeling safe and held. On those nights, your inner predator did not need to keep watch. It decided, quietly and without telling you, that the risk was low enough to let go. Now, while you listen, you can create conditions that make that kind of decision easier inside your body. You have already taken some steps, lying down, choosing a calm sound to accompany you. You might take one small extra step now, adjust your position to be just a bit more comfortable. Let your limbs spread or curl in, whatever feels effortless. The more your body recognizes this as a familiar, non-threatening posture, the more willing your survival system will be to ease its grip. As we shift our attention from the mind of the hunter to the mind of the hunted, you may notice a gradual change in tone. The predator's world is about choosing when to act. The prey's world is about choosing when to act and when to freeze, when to flee and when to stay, when to trust and when to doubt. The prey animal wakes up each day in a world where something might be watching. Yet it must still eat, move, mate, care for its young, and, somehow, rest. Imagine now that same open plain or forest, not from the point of view of the predator in the grass, but from the view of a grazing animal. Perhaps you are a deer or an impala, a rabbit or a small rodent. The world around you is full of both opportunity and risk. The grass is food, but in the open you are more visible. The trees give cover, but also hide predators. Every choice about where to stand and where to step is influenced by an internal calculus. How hungry am I? How dangerous does this feel? Where can I see, and where can I be seen? Your senses, in this body, are tuned to pick up subtle changes. A shift in the direction of the wind might carry the scent of a carnivore. A sudden quiet in birdsong might signal that something larger has entered the area. A single twig snapping can send a ripple of stillness through your muscles. Vigilance is not something you decide to do, it is the default setting of your nervous system. Your ears flick. Your head lifts. Your eyes widen. Your heart beats a little faster, flooding your body with readiness. But you cannot live at that peak indefinitely. If you stood frozen all day, you would not get enough food. If you ran at every sound, you would exhaust yourself long before the day was done. So, like wild prey everywhere, you live in pulses, short bursts of heightened alertness, followed by returns to a more normal baseline. You bend to graze, ears rotating like small radar dishes. You chew, but your attention never entirely collapses inward. It rests in a delicate balance between what is in your mouth and what might be in the shadows. Other individuals around you help share this burden. In a herd or a flock, vigilance becomes a group effort. One animal lifts its head, another does the same, and in seconds the whole group may be alert, orienting toward a potential threat. Alarm calls in some species travel quickly, a particular cry that means predator from above, another that means predator on the ground. In fish schools, a sudden change in direction can ripple through hundreds of bodies in a moment. You, as a single animal, are never entirely alone in your watchfulness. Humans have their own forms of this collective vigilance. Group chats and news alerts, neighborhood watches and social networks, these are ways we share information about possible dangers. Sometimes this is helpful, we learn about real risks we can avoid. Sometimes it becomes overwhelming, the stream of alerts never seems to end, and our inner prey mind begins to feel like there is always something lurking, even if it is far away or unlikely to affect us directly. Think of times you have felt that constant readiness, as if you are always on call for bad news, for criticism, for disappointment. Messages light up your phone. Headlines scroll by. Conversations repeat in your head. It is a very modern version of standing in an open field with your ears always rotating, never fully relaxing into the simple act of feeding or resting. You have felt this too, the tension of scanning your environment or your devices for danger, even when your body is tired and craving sleep. In the wild, when a real predator appears, prey animals may respond with a sequence of actions. At first, there is a freeze, muscles locked, body held still, heart pounding. This stillness can make them less noticeable and give them a moment to gather information. If the predator moves closer, freeze often gives way to flight, a sudden bolt of motion, a rush of legs, wings, or fins, coordinated or chaotic depending on the species. Escape routes are chosen in an instant, based on memory of the terrain and the positions of others. If they succeed in escaping, something important happens afterward. The elevated heart rate and stress hormones do not remain at their peak forever. Over minutes or hours, if no further danger appears, the body slowly returns toward its baseline. The animal may be jumpier for a while, more likely to respond to small noises, but eventually, it must eat again, groom, care for young, and, at some point, lie down. The cycle completes itself: threat, response, relief, recovery. For many humans, the cycle gets stuck somewhere in the middle. The body senses a threat, perhaps social rejection, financial insecurity, health worries, and mounts a response. Heart races, muscles tense, thoughts proliferate. But often, there is no clear moment when the danger is truly over. Bills are not instantly paid. Conversations are not instantly resolved. Our brains keep receiving reminders of similar threats from media, work, and social interactions. So the relief and deep recovery phases are shortened or skipped. We live with an almost constant low hum of threat, as if we are prey animals in a habitat where predators never leave. One of the main costs of this for wild animals is reduced time for feeding and resting. They may eat less, or eat at worse times of day, or in poorer quality habitats, simply to avoid the highest risk areas. Over time, this can affect their health, their reproductive success, and their survival. In humans, the equivalent cost often shows up as fatigue, burnout, trouble concentrating, difficulty enjoying daily activities, and, of course, disrupted sleep. You might notice ways this shows up for you. Perhaps you stay up later than you intend, scrolling for information or distraction, as if gathering data will protect you. Perhaps you wake up in the night and feel compelled to check your phone or run through lists in your mind. Perhaps you find it hard to nap or rest even when you have the chance, because some part of you believes you have to stay mentally online to keep danger at bay. This is your inner prey animal, living in a world where the signals of danger are frequent and ambiguous. The good news is that, just as real prey animals can and do return to rest when conditions allow, your nervous system is built with the capacity to shift out of vigilance. It may take practice and repetition, especially if you have lived under stress for a long time, but the pathways are there. Your body knows how to digest, how to slow your heart, how to sleep. It has not forgotten. It has simply been receiving too many predator alerts and not enough all-clear signals. Right now, you can practice sending one of those signals in a very small, manageable way. Without forcing, let your out-breath be a tiny bit longer than your in-breath, just by a second or two. You do not have to count. You can just notice the natural pause at the end of the exhale and allow it to lengthen slightly, as if you are sighing in slow motion. That extended exhale engages parts of your nervous system associated with rest and recovery. It is one of the simplest ways to nudge your inner prey mind toward, "We are not being chased right now." As you breathe this way, you might visualize a herd of animals settling. The initial alarm has passed. The suspected predator has moved on, or perhaps it was nothing more than a branch falling or a breeze shifting. One by one, heads lower again. Ears remain attentive, but bodies soften. Some lie down. Young ones tuck themselves close to older bodies. Chewing resumes, slow and methodical. Grooming behaviors begin, a mother licking her offspring, a bird smoothing its feathers, a rodent washing its face with small paws. All of these are signs that the nervous system is stepping down from high alert. Your own small comforting habits, tucking your blanket just so, adjusting your pillow, maybe making a warm drink before bed, listening to a familiar voice, are human forms of this grooming and settling. They are not trivial or childish. They are your way of signaling to your inner prey animal, day after day, this is a safe enough burrow, a safe enough nest. Over time, these signals can become so familiar that your body begins to associate them automatically with a shift toward rest. In places where predators are numerous or where new predators have been introduced, prey animals may struggle to find enough safe space or time to fully relax. Researchers have documented how this chronic fear can alter hormone levels, reproduction, and even the structure of ecosystems, as prey animals avoid certain habitats and overuse others. Something similar happens to us when our environments are consistently demanding, jobs that never switch off, living situations that feel unsafe, relationships that keep us in a state of emotional flinch. On the other hand, when humans find or create environments that feel reliably safe, homes where doors lock, communities where people look out for each other, routines that provide structure, the inner landscape of fear can slowly quiet down. You may still startle at loud noises or worry about the future, but your baseline can shift. Nighttime can become, bit by bit, more like the sheltered hillside or thick underbrush where wild animals choose to lie down. It can help to notice the ways your current environment already supports this. Maybe you have a door you can lock, curtains you can close, a favorite blanket or pillow. Perhaps there is a particular angle of light or darkness that feels especially soothing. Perhaps the sound of rain, distant traffic, or a fan creates a kind of auditory cover, like the background sounds of insects or leaves in the wild that signal nothing unusual is happening. Each of these is a modern form of what prey animals look for in their resting sites: shelter, camouflage, the ability to detect real threats early while feeling safe enough to close their eyes. There is another layer to the prey experience: memory. Animals remember places and patterns associated with danger. A certain smell, a particular corner of the landscape, the silhouette of a predator species, these etch into the nervous system and can trigger rapid responses the next time they appear. You carry this, too, in your own way. Streets where something bad happened, voices that sound like someone who hurt you, tones of message or email that echo past criticism. Your inner prey mind catalogs these and tries to keep you away from similar experiences. This can be protective, but it can also become overgeneralized. The nervous system may begin to react strongly to things that only faintly resemble past threats. That is how you may find yourself lying awake because of a tone in a message that statistically means nothing, or avoiding harmless situations because they feel like old dangers. When this happens, a part of your healing is gently teaching your inner prey mind to update its map, to distinguish between what was dangerous then and what is actually safe now. One very gentle way to do that is what you are already doing: staying in a safe present moment, in a familiar place, while allowing your mind to wander through potentially scary topics in the presence of a calm, steady voice. You are exposing your nervous system to the idea of predators and prey, of danger and survival, but in a context that is soothing, slow, and predictable. You are telling your body, we can think about these things without being in danger. Over time, this can help decouple certain thoughts from emergency responses. As you rest here, your own predator and prey circuits are both present. There is the part of you that wants to solve and pursue, the part that wants to scan and avoid. Both have kept you alive in different ways. Neither is your enemy. They are simply ancient strategies, expressed through a modern life. By observing them, by naming them softly inside yourself, you are already a little less entangled in their automatic reactions. If at this point your mind drifts away from these words and toward hazier images, A dim forest, a field under stars, the outlines of animals barely visible in the dark, that is perfectly fine. You might imagine a wide landscape where, for the moment, the major movements of the day are over. Predators that tried and failed to catch their meals are resting, licking their paws, grooming their fur, nursing their wounds. Prey that escaped are settling into their hidden places, hearts slowing, breathing deepening, bodies finally allowed to loosen. In this shared stillness, the entire system is, for a while, not fighting, not fleeing, not chasing. It is simply there, alive, breathing, powered by the same rhythms of stress and relief, fear and calm, that move through you. You can imagine yourself as one more small creature in this vast scene, finding your own niche of safety, a hollow under a fallen log, a space beneath overhanging rock, a nest woven in the branches. You curl in, tuck yourself against the ground or the imagined warmth of others, and feel the world continue around you without needing your supervision. Somewhere out there, night hunters may still move. Somewhere, distant prey may still graze. But here, in your chosen spot, the risk is low. Your part, for now, is only to breathe, to let your muscles be heavy, to allow your eyes to close. The psychology of survival is not meant to keep you awake forever. It evolved so that, when danger is real, you can respond, and then, when danger is low, you can rest deeply enough to heal and continue. By understanding how predators and prey live, by seeing pieces of yourself in both, you are giving your own survival mind a small gift, context. Instead of being an unexamined, noisy alarm system, it becomes a familiar companion whose patterns you recognize. And familiarity, over time, is one of the gentlest ways to turn down fear. As you move from this part of our journey into deeper quiet, you do not have to hold onto the details. You can let the words become softer, like distant sounds in a sleeping landscape. Predators and prey, hunters and hunted, you and the wild, they all fade into the same slow rhythm of hearts beating, chests rising and falling, the world turning steadily under a dark sky. Whatever part of you has been on watch for too long can begin, even if just by a fraction, to consider the possibility that, for this night, for this stretch of time, it can finally rest. You can stay right where you are, letting your body sink a little more deeply into whatever is holding you, as if the surface beneath you is slowly learning the exact shape of your weight. By now, you have walked through the world of predators and prey in your imagination. You have seen how a hunter's life is not just about the chase, but about waiting, choosing, and conserving energy. You have seen how a prey animal lives with constant awareness, pulsing between alertness and ease, doing its best to eat, move, and rest in a world where something might always be watching. Now we turn more fully back toward you, toward the human mind and body that have inherited those same survival patterns and translated them into modern life. The nervous system that once helped your ancestors notice a rustle in the grass now reacts to a vibration in your pocket or a tone in someone's voice. The same circuitry that once decided whether to bolt from a predator or lie still in the underbrush now decides whether you answer a message, avoid a meeting, or stay awake at night rehearsing a conversation that has not happened yet. If you can understand how these ancient patterns show up in your own day, you can begin to treat yourself with the kind of patience you might offer a wild animal learning to trust. Tonight is not about forcing your body to sleep. It is about recognizing what your nervous system is doing, why it makes sense, and how you can gently show it that, right now, here in this room, you are safe enough to let go. Imagine for a moment that you could step outside yourself and watch your typical day the way a biologist might watch animals in the field. You would see a body moving through different environments, a bedroom, a kitchen, a street, an office, a car, a train, a store. At each transition, your surroundings change, new sounds, new people, different lighting, updated expectations. Your nervous system is constantly reading those cues, usually without your awareness. In the morning, perhaps you wake to an alarm. Even that sound is a tiny predator to your senses, sudden, insistent, designed to pull you out of whatever state you are in. Your heart rate may jump. Muscles may tense. Before you have thought a single conscious thought, your body has already moved from deeper rest toward alertness. Then you may reach for your phone. Overnight, messages and updates have arrived. Some are neutral or pleasant. Some may contain problems, demands, or ambiguous tones that your inner prey mind reads as possible danger. You scroll, scan, evaluate. This is a kind of modern foraging, except instead of grass or leaves, you are gathering information, trying to understand what risks the day might hold. Unlike a grazing animal, though, you do this before you have even fully grounded yourself in your own body. You may not have eaten. You may barely be aware of your own breathing. Already, your attention is partly outside you, looking for threat. As you move through your day, there are dozens of moments when your survival circuits quietly switch on or dial up. A tight deadline appears in your inbox, and your inner predator leans forward. We must chase this. A critical comment lands with more weight than you expected, and your inner prey jolts. We must avoid this, or at least anticipate it in future. Navigating public spaces, managing social interactions, responding to conflict. Each of these can send microbursts of sympathetic activation through your system. Little jumps in heart rate, flickers of tension in your jaw or shoulders, small bursts of adrenaline. If you were an animal in the wild, many of these bursts would be followed by some kind of physical action. You would flee, fight, freeze, and then shake it off, or run, or hide. The raised energy would be discharged through your muscles. Instead, in a modern life, you may sit still at a desk, stare at a screen, or hold yourself together in a meeting. The activation has nowhere obvious to go. It lingers in your muscles, in your breathing pattern, in the way your thoughts start looping. Through the day, your inner predator might be in charge for long stretches, hunting for solutions, pursuing tasks, strategizing, competing. It checks off items, sets up new goals, pushes you to keep going. Your inner prey watches for criticism, exclusion, failure, embarrassment, financial risk. Together, they form a tight, efficient survival team, always looking ahead to the next potential hazard or opportunity. For functioning in a complex world, this is incredibly useful. But for sleep, it is a problem, because these systems are not designed to slam from full-speed threat detection to deep rest in an instant. Think again of the animals we visited earlier. At the end of a day, even the most vigilant prey and the most driven predators do not just fall over and lose consciousness the moment the sun touches the horizon. There is a wind-down period. Predators may finish grooming, find a resting place, check their surroundings one last time. Prey may gradually drift towards safer spaces, gather with others, adjust their positions until they feel as hidden and defended as possible. Their nervous systems do not have language to narrate this, but their actions send a consistent message. The active part of the day is over, now we are shifting into rest mode. Humans, too, are meant to have such a transition, a slow passage that lets your body know it can ease its grip. But many modern routines compress or skip this phase. Work may continue late into the night. Stimulating information and emotionally charged content may keep streaming in through screens right up until you close your eyes. The body receives mixed signals. The environment suggests danger and engagement, while your conscious mind insists it is time to sleep. Your survival system, understandably, chooses caution. It keeps you a little more awake than you want. To begin unwinding this knot, it helps to see your evenings not as a sudden drop-off, but as a gradual migration from a busier, more exposed part of your mental landscape into a hidden, quieter den. Imagine that, like a herd animal, you are slowly making your way from an open plain where you had to be more vigilant, toward a cluster of trees where the wind breaks and the shadows are thick. Each small choice you make in that period, dimming lights, lowering volume, reducing stimulation, is like choosing slightly safer terrain. There may be days when your nervous system arrives at evening already too wound up, as if you have been chased for hours and still feel the predator at your heels. On those days, expecting your body to relax instantly can feel like asking a terrified deer to lie down in the exact spot where it just almost got caught. Instead, you can acknowledge what is true. Today was a day of many small threats and chases. My body is holding the memory of that. And then you can begin, step by step, to show it that tonight, at least, the conditions are more like the hidden hollow than the exposed field. You might do that with small, concrete practices. Not as complicated rituals, but as survival-informed gestures. Slowing your movements, for example, even just a little, tells your body there is no immediate emergency. A creature being actively hunted does not shuffle around slowly and absent-mindedly adjust things, it moves with sharp, focused urgency. So if you find yourself hurrying through your evening, you can experiment with moving as if you had all the time you need, even if just for 1 or 2 tasks. Put a glass down gently instead of with a clatter. Walk more softly across the floor. Each small act of slowness is like telling your nervous system, whatever hunted us earlier is not here right now. You can also pay attention to your senses the way an animal would when choosing a sleeping place. Notice the quality of the darkness or light in your room. Does closing a curtain or turning off a small light make the space feel more sheltered, like moving deeper into brush? Listen to the sounds around you. A fan, a soft hum, distant traffic, rustling leaves, rain against a window. These are like nightly background noises in a wild landscape, signals that nothing unusual is happening. Sudden, sharp sounds are more like snapped twigs or alarm calls. If you can soften or mask them, even a little, your inner prey mind may feel less compelled to remain on the surface. In this context, even how you place your body takes on new meaning. Lying flat on your back may feel exposed to some people, like being on the open ground without cover. Curling slightly, with knees drawn in, or lying on your side, can feel more like tucking yourself into a hollow. There is no right or wrong posture, only what feels more like shelter to you. If you can find that posture and let yourself really feel the contact with the bed or chair beneath you, the way it holds you up without effort, you are recreating, in a human way, what a prey animal seeks in nests, burrows, and sheltered corners. Understanding yourself as both predator and prey inside one human body can soften some of the harsh self-judgments around anxiety and fatigue. The predator part of you may criticize you for being tired or cautious. Why am I not chasing more, doing more, achieving more? The prey part of you may criticize you for being too aggressive or driven. Why cannot I relax? Why do I push myself into stressful situations? When you see both as survival strategies, you can instead say, of course I am tired. My inner predators and prey have both been working all day. They both deserve rest. Sometimes, when stress has been high for a long time, the nervous system learns to live closer to those higher activation states by default. It is as if your inner prey animal has been living in a forest where predators have become more numerous, or where new predators have appeared that it does not yet fully understand. It starts treating more and more places as dangerous, more and more times of day as risky. Your inner predator, feeling scarcity or competition, might respond by hunting harder, chasing more tasks, never feeling that there is enough. In wild ecosystems, such changes can indeed happen. A new predator moves into a region, prey must either adapt, move, or decline. Herbivores who once fed freely in certain clearings may begin to avoid them. They might shift their habits to feed more at night, or closer to cover, or in smaller groups. Their bodies carry more stress for a while. But if conditions remain stable and they find new patterns that keep them safe enough, their baseline levels can gradually adjust. The landscape of fear reshapes itself, integrating the new risks into a workable, if different, daily rhythm. For your nervous system, the equivalent is learning, over time, which situations truly demand high alert and which do not, and then updating your responses accordingly. This often requires repetition. A herd does not decide after one safe night in a new clearing that it is permanently safe. But after many nights with no incident, their vigilance there may decrease. In your life, this can look like gradually trusting a safe routine, a safe relationship, a safe space. Night after night of uneventful sleep in the same bed is a kind of data your inner prey animal can use to say, maybe here, It is okay to relax a little sooner. It is important to say that if you have lived through real dangers, abuse, violence, severe instability, your nervous system has very good reasons to be cautious. In that case, it has learned that predators existed not only outside but perhaps in human forms close to you, people you should have been able to trust. Asking that system to simply calm down without acknowledging its history would be like asking an animal that has been attacked repeatedly in its den to lie back down in the same spot without first altering the den, changing the surroundings, or providing new signs of safety. So the work of sleep, for a mind like yours, is not just about relaxation techniques. It is about a slow kind of rewilding, a reintroduction of real rest into an environment that has often felt unsafe. It is about offering your nervous system experiences that contradict its expectation of constant threat, carefully enough that it is not overwhelmed. Listening to a predictable, gentle voice as you lie in a physically safe space is one such experience. Not a complete solution on its own, but a small stone placed on the side of trust. You can also notice how your body feels during the day when you are in places or with people who genuinely feel safe. Maybe there is a friend whose presence makes your muscles unknot a little. Maybe there is a cafe, a park bench, or a corner of your home where your breathing naturally slows. These are your personal low-risk zones, the equivalent of safe thickets or sheltered slopes. Spending regular time in them, and consciously registering how your body feels there, helps your nervous system recognize that not everywhere is dangerous. Not every moment requires full alert. Over time, as you collect these safe experiences, you are doing for your nervous system what evolution did for wild animals, selecting and reinforcing patterns that support survival with less constant strain. In the same way that predator and prey systems have shaped the traits and behaviors we see in the wild today, your own experiences, especially the ones of felt safety, can reshape your internal responses. Fear will never disappear entirely, and it does not need to. But it can become more accurately tuned, leaving more room for rest. Another way to understand your sleeplessness is through the lens of incomplete cycles. In the wild, the sequence is: threat appears, body responds, action is taken, threat resolves or animal escapes, body returns toward baseline. When you find yourself wide awake at night, mind racing, heart uneasy, it is often because one of those steps was interrupted. The threat is not clearly over. The action you could take is not clear or not possible. Your body is waiting for a signal it never quite receives. Part of healing, then, is learning to send your body enough of a cycle-complete signal that it can begin the downshift, even if the problem is not fully solved. This is a skill. It can be learned slowly. It might involve simple practices like writing down the worry before bed and telling yourself you will return to it at a specific time tomorrow. To your logical mind, that might sound thin. But to your survival system, it is a concrete action. The problem has been acknowledged, externalized onto paper, parked for later. Just as an animal might move to a safer patch and then resume feeding even though predators still exist somewhere in the wider landscape, you are saying, This specific moment is safe enough, even if the world is not entirely. There is also an element of acceptance in all of this, accepting that some level of uncertainty is unavoidable, that your inner predator will never catch every potential problem, that your inner prey cannot anticipate every danger. Wild animals live with this all the time. No deer steps into a meadow with a signed contract that no predator will appear. No predator begins a hunt with a guarantee of success. They live in a constant state of partial knowledge and have, over millions of years, adapted to this by not trying to control everything, by leaning on rhythms, day and night, seasons, group movements, more than on detailed individual plans. As a human, you can borrow some of that attitude. Instead of trying to foresee and solve every variable before you allow yourself to rest, you can aim for safe enough for now. You have done what you can today. There will always be loose ends. There will always be uncertainties. Your survival system will always be able to find something to focus on if you let it. But at some point in the evening, you can consciously shift your internal question from what else could go wrong to have I done enough for today that my body deserves rest? The answer, most nights, is yes, long before your mind is satisfied. You might phrase it differently inside yourself, in words that feel more natural to you. Perhaps something like, the predators of today's problems can wait until morning, or for the next few hours. My only job is to be a body breathing in a safe place. This may seem simplistic, but language matters. Prey animals respond to calls and signals. Your own nervous system responds to repeated inner phrases. The more often you pair such phrases with genuinely restful actions, lying down, dimming lights, listening to calming sound, the more they become cues. As the night deepens around you now, you can imagine the entire predator and prey system of the world tilting slowly toward rest. In forests, many hunters are quieter now. Owls may still fly, but some have already filled their bellies. In plains and grasslands, some grazers lie tucked in hollows, some stand half dozing, heads low, eyes half closed, switching which individuals stay a bit more awake while others truly sink into sleep. In the oceans, some creatures drift in the deep, some rise toward the surface, some descend to darker layers where they are less visible. You are part of this, even if you are surrounded by walls and the glow of a city. Your body is still an animal, animated by the same kind of nervous system as so many others. Your heart has beaten through moments of threat and ease alike. Your lungs have carried air in and out thousands of times without conscious instruction. Even right now, as you listen, there is a background intelligence adjusting blood pressure, temperature, digestion, immune function. This quiet ongoing work is your inner ecosystem, and it, too, needs time when high alert is not draining its resources. If you notice any pockets of tension still gripping inside you, perhaps in your neck, your hands, your lower back, you can let your awareness rest on them with the same gentle curiosity you might bring to watching an animal on the edge of a clearing. You do not rush it. You do not order it to relax. You simply offer presence. Often, when an animal feels a gaze that is not predatory, not threatening, it may eventually go back to what it was doing. In the same way, your tense areas, when met with non-judgmental attention, often soften on their own by a small degree. That small degree, added up across the body, can be enough to tilt you further towards sleep. The more you practice seeing yourself in this way, as a creature whose nervous system is doing its best based on old rules, the less you will interpret your reactions as personal failures. Feeling jumpy, wakeful, or numb stops being a sign that you are broken and becomes a sign that your survival system is overworking, like a herd that has been living too long under bright lights and loud noises. Compassion is not a soft, optional extra here, it is a practical survival tool. It is what allows you to stop fighting yourself long enough for rest to become possible. You can carry one more image with you as you drift, an image of a small animal who has finally, after a long period of strain, found a sheltered place. Perhaps it is a rabbit that has been darting from bush to bush all day, ears high, always listening. Now, at last, it has reached the entrance to a burrow, slips inside, and follows the familiar tunnel to a chamber deep underground. The earth muffles the sounds above. The air is cool and still. Other bodies may be there, warm, breathing slowly. The rabbit's heartbeat, wild and rapid before, gradually slows. Breath deepens. Muscles, one by one, unclench. You can imagine yourself like that, moving inward, down a tunnel of your own making from the bright, noisy surface of your thoughts into a deeper, quieter chamber. Each breath out is another few steps down that tunnel. Each small release of tension is like passing another bend, further away from the entrance. Out there, on the surface, predators and prey may still move through their nightly patterns. Out there, the world's problems, your own unresolved tasks and conversations, still exist. But in this inner chamber, they are distant, muffled, unable to reach you for now. Your job in this place is not to monitor the horizon, not to chase opportunities, not to solve anything. It is simply to exist, as any sleeping creature does, held by the ground and by the rhythms of your own body. The psychology of survival has brought you all the way from the earliest ancestors who first learned to fear shadows and listen for rustles in the dark. The psychology of rest is what allows that legacy to continue without burning out the body that carries it. If you find yourself still awake, mind wandering, you do not have to fight it. Thoughts can pass through like distant animals crossing a ridge line far outside your den. You do not need to get up and follow them. You can let them move across the edge of your awareness and out of sight again. Awareness shrinks to the simple sensations of weight, warmth, and slow breathing. In this way, whether you drop into sleep quickly or gradually, you are already doing something important. You are teaching your inner predator and your inner prey that, at least for tonight, the hunt is over, the chase is done, and it is safe enough now to let your eyes close. Somewhere inside, your nervous system is listening. Each quiet minute you spend here, not chasing new stimulation, not stoking new fears, is like another night the herd spends unharmed in the same sheltered grove. The message accumulates, this is a place where we can rest. Over time, that message becomes a memory, and that memory becomes a habit, and that habit becomes a kind of trust. And trust, more than any technique, is what finally lets a creature, any creature, fall all the way into sleep. If you are even a little bit closer to that trust now than when you first lay down, that is enough. You do not have to measure it or prove it. Nature works slowly, through repetition and small shifts. Your survival mind will always be part of you. But as you lie here, breathing, you can feel that you are not only a survivor. You are also a sleeper, a being designed not just to endure but to rest, to dream, and to wake again when the light returns. And if, in some softer part of your awareness, you remember any of this in the mornings to come, you can carry a small intention into your days, to notice when your inner predator is chasing shadows it cannot catch, to notice when your inner prey is flinching from dangers that are not here right now, and to offer both a bit more kindness. Because every kind thought, every small act of gentleness toward your own nervous system, is one more step in the long process of making your inner world a place where, when night falls, you can finally close your eyes. If you have made it this far, listening and breathing, you have already been practicing this all along, staying with yourself as your own body slowly learns that, even with all the predators and prey in your history, you are allowed to rest. And every night you return to this, that permission grows a little more real. At some later time, when you are more awake and moving through your day, if these reflections and this kind of gentle journeying have helped you, you might choose to come back to them, to explore other topics of science and philosophy through this same soft lens. You might even share this with others who are also quietly hunting for rest. If you feel it has supported you, you can, when you are ready and only if it feels right, tap that small button that lets you like, subscribe, or follow along, so that more slow, thoughtful, calming explorations can find their way to you when you next need a companion in the dark. For now, though, there is nothing else you need to do. You have listened. You have breathed. You have given your survival system a chance to understand itself. Let the rest of the night take care of itself in its own time, as you drift further inward, into your own quiet den of sleep.